Thomas Tuchel opened the door, I think it's fair to say, for Ben White, almost on the new manager. So therefore, it's going to be a clean slate. Ben White, in the last, year, shall we say, has made himself unavailable.
Allegedly.
For No, what do you mean allegedly?
Allegedly.
Like,
we don't know everything about the story. We don't know why.
Has he been available for selection, yes or no?
I don't know. I'm just getting ready to back my boy.
Selective amnesia is amazing.
So when
I love that.
Gareth Southgate said that Ben didn't want to be selected for England, so therefore that means he was unavailable for selection.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
No, but that's... Gareth Southgate said that.
Fair enough, my
bad. And Gareth had to, they got to a point where he was in such good form with England. And there always was a bit of a grey cloud, wasn't there, over the World Cup that he left early. And Gareth did say, I think it was before the Euros, he said he's not in squad, not because I don't fancy Ben White, but because he doesn't want to be picked. So therefore, with that information, do you think it's right that a new manager just brings him back in? Or do you almost sort of think, it's your country, should any player really sort of go, you know what, I don't fancy playing for England there. Oh, but now, yeah, I love playing for England.
It's very difficult for me to comment without knowing everything that goes on behind the scenes. What I will say is, like you said there's no higher, honour than representing your country. It's lovely to see him back in contention. Where you look at potentially tactically how Thomas Tuchel wants to play, whether it's with wing backs or a back three, Ben White deserves to be back in the fold, so bring him back in.
Based on ability, sure, but do you think, Mark, because I've brought it out to you then, who's not an Arsenal fan, are you fine with players almost deciding and picking and choosing when they want to play for their
Forgiveness
country?
in life is key, man. Forgiveness. Have you ever made a mistake?
As a Christian, I definitely agree with that. But I think... but what you've said there, though, when you said, was it all right for players to just do this? But players aren't doing that. We're talking about just one with Ben White. And I think if suddenly there was this, I'll do that and not that. Let's be honest, that behind closed doors, there is a little bit of that already with certain
if he was
friendlies.
intimidated by Southgate and coaching stuff and he didn't feel comfortable in the environment, we can't comment on everything.
And the rumours were suggesting that he fell out with Steve Holland.
I think we knew that.
Yeah, I don't think that's news to anybody. So,
That's outrageous.
Also, being intimidated by Gareth
Intimidated.
Southgate.
He could be intimidated. He's got the highest position. Well, he had the highest position in the land.
He's not the king.
He could be intimidated. Well, from a footballing perspective, he could be intimidated.
CJ, he wanted him to play.
How do you know Ben White wasn't scared to go on a training ground?
Well, I think.
How do you know?
I think also with Ben White.
Do you want to go to work scared of your employers or the people that make decisions? We don't
Abby's
know.
petrified of me, by the way.
Yeah,
petrified.
she
You might
Producer
boss?
Jamie.
Oh yeah, Jamie just makes me quake.
That mullet is scary.
Yeah, he's so tall and
Yeah.
So
Scary.
did anyone here have a problem then? Or are we all saying
So
it's
I think
Bring him back.
No, I think CJ. I think that. I think there's that, and also the fact he knew he was never going to play. But when all said and done, that's
that's a good point.
if you think that there is a right back position up for grabs for England, which there is, because Kyle Walker, he's not getting any younger. And his powers are waning. Okay, Trent Alexander-Arnold is a phenomenal player. Lots of people would want him at right back. Some say defensively a little bit suspect, and in knockout football, one little error and you're gone. Ben White is a very talented right back, and I think right now with what England have, Trippier's obviously retired from international football as well. Not that he was much of a starter. Reece James regrettably can't get fit because I think he's a wonderful player and would start for me if fully fit. There is a chance if Thomas Tuchel looks around and thinks the best right back for what I want to do with my team available is Ben White, and we know he links with Saka well as well. And I agree with you.
Centre half as well.
Yeah, indeed, he covered that position. Him and Saka is a starter for England, despite what Foden and Palmer are doing. I try and accommodate there, but that's a different...
right-hand side, he's locked in, isn't it?
I truly believe that. So if he thinks he is the best player to be able to play in my team and all the rest of it, I have zero problem with Ben White coming back to England.
Thank you.
Well, I don't like the way it was handled in terms of, I think if you go home at a major tournament, I think that can be perceived as a little bit disrespectful to your teammates as well, and the country. I'm not just really saying it because it's an Arsenal fan. I would say it if it was a Spurs fan as well. I don't think it was handled. Obviously, we don't know what went on inside, but I think when you decide to take yourself out of it, it has to be something, I guess, that is quite serious. It shouldn't be over something that's petty. So I respect his feelings in that. But would I just welcome him with open arms back into the fold after not bothering to shout for his country when asked to?
He was told to leave. It's not that he didn't turn up. He was told to leave.
Were you there?
And they
you know-
literally said, Sky Sports literally said, and the publication said he was told to leave.
But what went on to get to that point?
I don't know, but why would you want to leave a World Cup? As you said, as Marcus said, you know, he's been playing in great form. He's been amazing. There's no higher honour than representing your country, especially at a World Cup. Why would you want to leave? Unless, like you said,
why put yourself in a position where you're getting asked to leave?
we don't.
We don't
you're
know.
right. There's no
We don't know.
there's
But
no rights and wrongs. They all have to hold their hands up.
Would I necessarily welcome back with open arms? Potentially not. But I
hear that.
I see the predicament that England will have, and the option. I think with him and Saka combining, I think that can be a real amazing thing for England.
I think something that also, by the way, that Ben, I think Ben should have spoken about this before. Like, I don't
really know why it's so top secret about what happened.
His agent came out and was a bit elusive and said his agent came out and said that there's not everything.
You are right. We don't know exactly what went on. So therefore, I think Ben should have at some point explained why he's not making.
I agree with that.
And therefore, when we know that, we can then maybe have a better understanding.
It's been made more of a thing because they won't say what happened, which is obviously really annoying when they just like dangle a carrot there and don't really explain
I agree with that. But don't you think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't? Generally speaking.
I do agree with that, definitely.
Because if he does speak, someone's always going to have an issue. Sure. I agree with you, Abby. I would like to hear his thoughts because then we can draw our own conclusions.
Do you think he's got an attitude problem?
No, I don't think Benjamin White, or you wouldn't be playing under Mikel Arteta. I don't think he's got an attitude problem.
Also, as well, he has been to he was in the Euro 2020 squad, wasn't he? And never kicked a ball, and there was no problem.
Yeah, but
there.
if it was about what they was alluded to about him not getting game time and things like that, I mean, it's a squad.
Do we really believe Ben White does not want to play for his country because he's not getting game time? Really?
Yeah.
Really, that's disingenuous.
I think that may be a final thought.
Let's be honest, he's a target because he says, I don't watch football and do things of that.
It was nothing to do
No, I'm
with
speaking in general rhetoric around Benjamin White, not necessarily what you're saying.
CJ, he became a target because it's
he's
very
been
rare.
He's been a target.
Because it's very rare.
The man's been a target.
Because it's very rare.
When he signed for this football club, the Gary Neville's and Jamie Carragher's came out and questioned his signing. He is someone that has forever been in the public eye.
He's not the first person who's joined a football club.
Did it say he was the first? We're talking about Benjamin White, though.
Let's not get the violin out because people.
I'm not getting the violin. You wanted the violin out for Robertson for getting the red card just 5 minutes ago. So if anyone knows about a violin, it's you, mate. We're talking about Benjamin White. What we're not going to do is attack the man.
CJ, the reason why people talk about him is because it's very rare that a player makes himself unavailable for selection and comes to his country. That's why we're talking about
it. It's the highest
We're not
honour.
picking on
I
him
get
for
that,
the
but
reason.
we're going around in circles.
But if you fell out with your boss, would you not go into work?
I mean, I probably wouldn't. I'd feel intimidated. I'd have a conversation with HR.
We'll have a conversation with HR.
I don't feel intimidated here though. So I can't really speak on this.
You wait for the second half, mate.
I'm starting to feel it now.
If you have the opportunity to represent your country at the highest level and you consistently say no, whatever the reason, then why should you be welcomed back in when there's a new manager? If you can't show up in major tournaments for your country,
because let bygones be bygones. Everyone deserves another chance.
Yeah,
he's not the first or the last person that's had a bust up with their country and then been welcomed back in.
Sure,
No,
but I
that's
think
definitely true.
the question was, should he be? I think, okay, he can be because it is a different
But
manager.
surely this question is redundant if Tuchel has already made it clear he wants to have a conversation. Doesn't that tell you everything?
But then as fans, as England fans, as we all are, then you can also have that conversation.
No, but that's what I'm saying. There's two sides to
So
it.
if he did, what about if he did that at Arsenal? How would you feel?
Of course, then you'd have to face the music if you did that at Arsenal. But at the same time, he's his own man. It's just like with Aubameyang. I'm sure Mikel Arteta had his own thoughts in relation to Aubameyang, but we don't hear Aubameyang's side. There's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. Three sides.
Would you welcome him back at Arsenal if he refused to play? Yes or no?
If he refused to play, and I can understand his side of view, why not? If it's for the benefit of the team, he's not the first or last person that's refused to play for their club.
Okay,
he's a human being.
I mean, look, squad harmony is incredibly important in tournament football. We know that they're cooped up away from home for a long time. If Ben White thinks, look, I don't get on well with this guy, he is really, really annoyed being Steve Holland, and vice versa.
And that's the thing, it's Steve Holland and what we alleged here with her.
That's we're going on scraps here, but that's what we've got to go on.
Yeah.
If that is the case, then, to give Ben White an enormous benefit of the doubt, he might be thinking, do you know what, if I'm around, it creates a bit of an atmosphere. I'm not playing. These guys are looking at me. Do you know what? I'm actually going to maybe even humble myself and take myself out of this. Now, I know a lot of people might laugh at that and go, come on, that. But
come on, Marcus, you're right, man. I agree.
Yeah, but there is a possibility. I think this idea that he doesn't want to play for England is not true. And I go back to it. One of the things that wins you an international tournament is cold, hard pragmatism. That's what it is, pragmatism. And you can't have too much sentiment. If, well, he didn't want to play for us a couple of years ago. Is he good enough? Is he going to play in the team? Is he going to give us something else? If the answer is yes, then you get him in there. It's not the first time we've seen this with international football. I mean, for crying out loud, the great Michael Laudrup stopped playing for Denmark when he thought that I don't like the tactics of this manager, blah 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 blah. Now the funny thing was Denmark win Euro '92 without him, incredibly. But when Michael Laudrup comes back into the Denmark side, I know he's probably the country's greatest ever player, but there's kind of like, come on, we could do with this guy, let bygones be bygones. As
So
CJ
you
says.
think these things can happen? People can fall out, and
Yeah, I
therefore
think it's a
we can move
spectacular
on.
example. I do, because as you say, I'm not interested. No, thank you. But I think that maybe you could say there's a bit of maturity in that. He thinks, we don't get on. It causes a bit of an atmosphere. I'm best off out of it. And until he goes, then I won't come back. Some people may say I'm being very, very generous there, perhaps. But this is football. This is what happens. The cycle of players goes. And I tell you something, this kind of thing will happen.
And what about when players pull out of international duty?
Well,
if you want to strip
there
it
is
back.
that. There is definitely an issue there. I mean, they would argue it's temporary.
Yeah, but
I
still
suppose
need
with
highest honour.
Well, I suppose with Ben White, he would say, look, if you're going to do it,
National
do it. Yeah, I would have him back if we think that he is one of the best two right backs in England, the English right back. Sorry, I'd have.
But if Tuchel plays a back three as well,
yeah.
I know we're going quite niche now into.
He could play right centre half.
I'll say right
That's
centre.
where that's where I
you
think
can
he
play
played,
Trent
to
and
be
right wing
honest.
back, can't you? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah,
Because you can't. I mean, Trent is looking at a back four. In terms
Ben
of
White
right
would be
backs.
centre half in that
I mean,
system.
Trent. Ben White can't even lace Trent's boots. Let's be completely honest. So if it's a back four, Trent is better than Ben White. But if it's a back five,
Jeez.
then
Well,
it depends what
then
job,
you can
though.
play.
It
Then you can
depends-
play Ben right centre back.
It depends what job, though, because if England are playing against, say, that Spain side that they did in the final, and I know England were rather passive in that game, and they ultimately lose 2-1. If you're going to have a very high concentration level against wingers that are flying at you and all the rest of it, Ben White is a better option than Trent. But if England want to play on the front foot and play a bit more attacking and expansive, which a lot of England fans want to see, then Trent's your man.
100. Trent could even play in midfield in that system, which is a talking point.
I think Trent defensively though, Marcus, I think he's got a lot better, a lot more.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not saying he's terrible. I just
he gets
think
a bit of a heart. I think he
he
got a bit
does.
of a rough time with that.
No, but I'm comparing him with Ben White, who's playing in one of the best
Ben White's
defenses.
fantastic. Yeah, no, sure,
that's
sure,
the
sure.
to
Ben
be
White
clear on
clears
that.
him defensively. Trent's the better all-round package. We can see that.
Yeah,
We're all agreed.
I'm happy. I thought you might.
No,
I was like,
no.
Where you were going with
is
that?
CJ going to do? I was like, no.
Relax.
He's not even that deluded. He couldn't.
Appreciate that.
Kind of sometimes deluded Gooner, CJ, right?
I got to back my boys, man.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.